Under the golden glow of the late Harare sunset, the city felt different, charged, electric, as if something invisible was shifting in the air. Word had spread across the continent, carried by whispers in crowded markets and encrypted messages on phones. Maxwell Chikumbutso had done it again. But this time, it wasn't an invention of metal and circuitry. It was something far more disruptive. Inside a discreet conference hall on the outskirts of the city, the air was heavy with anticipation. Influential figures from across Africa, bankers, government ministers, tech entrepreneurs, even a few wary foreign delegates, sat in silence, eyes fixed on the stage. Security was tight, not just to keep people out, but to keep secrets in. Cameras were banned, devices sealed away in lead-lined pouches. Maxwell stepped onto the stage, dressed in a simple dark suit, his hands empty. No prototypes. No screens. Just a small, black case in front of him. He paused, letting the weight of the moment settle before he spoke. For centuries, Africa's wealth has been extracted, controlled, and dictated by systems that were never built for us, he began. That ends today. He opened the case. Inside was a single, sleek, hexagonal coin. Its surface shimmered like liquid metal, etched with patterns no eye could quite follow. It wasn't gold, silver, or any known alloy. It seemed alive, shifting faintly under the light. This, Maxwell continued, is not just currency. It is value, energy, and trust, merged into one form. It cannot be counterfeited. It cannot be devalued by printing more. And it cannot be controlled by any central bank outside of Africa. A murmur swept the room. Some looked intrigued. Others, alarmed. One man in the back, a senior official from an international lending institution, leaned forward, his jaw tightening. Maxwell explained that each coin contained a microenergy core, capable of storing and transmitting wireless power, tied to a blockchain network independent of the global financial system. The coin was both money and generator, capable of charging devices, running small machines, even powering homes when linked together. This is a currency you can hold in your hand, he said, and yet it is also a piece of infrastructure. A woman from Ghana's central bank raised her hand. You're talking about replacing not just money, but our entire economic foundation. Do you understand the geopolitical consequences? Maxwell smiled faintly. I understand them better than anyone in this room. As his words echoed, the lights in the conference hall dimmed. A live feed flickered onto the wall, showing bustling streets in Lagos, Nairobi, and Johannesburg. Vendors holding identical coins, charging phones on the spot, exchanging them for food, services, and even medical treatment. The network was already active. Some in the audience gasped. Others reached for their phones, forgetting they'd been confiscated. The senior official in the back leaned to whisper to his aide, his tone low and urgent. Maxwell closed the case with a decisive click. This is not the future, he said. It's already here. Then, from somewhere deep in the building, a sudden loud crash rang out, followed by hurried footsteps. The security detail moved instantly, forming a perimeter. Maxwell didn't flinch, but his eyes narrowed. He knew this unveiling would draw attention. He just didn't expect the first challenge to arrive so soon. The footsteps grew louder, echoing through the marble corridors outside the hall. The murmurs in the crowd rose to a nervous hum. Every pair of eyes shifted between Maxwell and the guarded double doors at the back. Two security officers slipped out to intercept the disturbance, but before they could reach the source, the doors burst open with a deafening crack. A rush of cold night air swept in, carrying the faint scent of burning electronics. A group of 5 men strode in, their presence radiating authority. They weren't dressed in military uniforms, yet their movements were too precise for civilians. The leader, a tall, lean man in a charcoal overcoat, walked straight toward Maxwell, ignoring the shouts from security. He stopped just a few feet from the stage, his gaze fixed on the black case. Mr. Chikumbutso, he said, his voice deep and calm, you've just disrupted a system that has ruled for centuries. And systems don't like to be disrupted. The audience was frozen, torn between fear and curiosity. The man reached into his pocket and produced something small, a coin identical to the one Maxwell had displayed. But this one bore a strange, deep red glow at its center. "You're not the only one with access," the man said softly, his words cutting through the tension like a blade. "We've been watching you for years." Maxwell studied him for a long moment, then glanced at the coin in the man's hand. His mind raced. The red core was not part of his design. If it existed, someone had found a way to replicate, or worse, weaponize, his creation. "What do you want?" Maxwell asked, his voice steady but edged with steel. The man smiled faintly. "To talk. Privately. Before the rest of the world learns what these coins can really do." Outside, the low rumble of engines echoed in the distance, several black SUVs approaching fast. The walls of the hall seemed to close in. Maxwell understood now. This unveiling had triggered a chain reaction that could not be undone. And somewhere, far beyond this room, the first battle over the new currency had already begun. Maxwell's gaze flicked to the side of the stage, where two of his most trusted aides, Tariro and Cuda, stood frozen, awaiting his signal. He gave the slightest nod. In response, Tariro tapped the discreet device on her wrist, sending an encrypted alert through a network that few even knew existed. The man in the charcoal overcoat noticed the movement. "Careful," he warned. "Every second you hesitate, someone else gains leverage over you. And believe me, the people I work for don't hesitate." Maxwell stepped down from the stage, closing the space between them. "If you had the power to stop me, you would have done it already," he said evenly. "So the question is, why are you here instead of sending someone else to shut me down?" The man's eyes narrowed. "Because you're not just an inventor. You're a problem that can't be solved with force alone." Before Maxwell could reply, the rumble of the approaching SUVs grew louder, until the vibrations could be felt underfoot. A low boom echoed through the hall as the building's reinforced doors sealed automatically. The security team drew their weapons, but Maxwell raised a hand to stop them. The man in the overcoat tilted his head, as if listening to something in an earpiece. "They've arrived," he murmured. Then, louder, "We can either leave together, now, before this gets messy, or you can stay here and watch them dismantle everything you've built." In the far corner, Cuda had already begun moving the black case toward a concealed hatch in the stage floor, her motions quick but deliberate. Tariro edged toward the side exit, her hand brushing the concealed handle of a compact plasma deterrent device Maxwell had given her just hours before. Maxwell took a slow breath, his mind weighing the impossible choice. He could protect the coin's technology by going with this man, buying time, or he could refuse and risk a violent confrontation that would expose his entire network before it was ready. The leader's eyes locked with his. "Decide. Now." Maxwell glanced at Cuda, then Tariro, silently reading their expressions. Both were tense, ready, but their eyes told him what he already knew. Once those forces entered, there would be no controlled outcome. The case, the coin, his research, and perhaps even their lives would be lost in the chaos. He stepped closer to the man in the charcoal overcoat until they were only inches apart. "You think you can control me," Maxwell said quietly, his tone razor-sharp. "But the moment I leave with you, I become part of your game. And I don't play by other people's rules." A faint smirk ghosted across the man's face. "Then you have no idea what's about to happen." Before Maxwell could answer, the hall's main entrance shuddered violently. First one hit, then another, each louder and heavier. Dust rained from the ceiling. The crowd screamed and scattered toward the side doors, but Maxwell knew the building was surrounded. Tariro's voice came sharp and urgent through the comms in his earpiece. "Hidden corridors open. You have 30 seconds, maximum." Maxwell's jaw tightened. In one swift motion, he turned his back on the man, grabbed the case from Cuda, and moved toward the stage hatch. The man didn't follow. He simply stood there, watching, as if certain they'd meet again. The hatch door slid shut just as the reinforced entrance finally gave way with a thunderous crack. Shouts filled the hall, boots stormed in, and the sound of weapons being readied echoed through the air. Maxwell, Tariro, and Cuda hurried down a narrow, dimly lit passage beneath the building. The air was cold and metallic, smelling faintly of oil. The hum of concealed generators throbbed through the walls, powering the safehouse network. "Where does this lead?" Cuda asked breathlessly. "Not where," Maxwell said, his grip tightening on the case. To whom? In the darkness ahead, a pair of steel doors slowly began to open. A silhouette emerged, tall and deliberate, framed by the light from within. Maxwell's pulse quickened, not from fear, but from the recognition of someone he hadn't seen in years. And if they were here, the fight for the new currency had just reached a whole new level. The figure stepped forward, and as the light caught their face, Tariro gasped. It was Nyasha Jube, once Maxwell's closest ally, and later, his most dangerous rival. Her piercing eyes swept over the group, lingering on the black case in Maxwell's hands before lifting to meet his gaze. I was wondering how long it would take before they came for you, she said coolly. Anne, I see you brought my invention with you. Maxwell's grip on the case tightened. Your invention? This is my design, Nyasha. You left before it was even complete. Nyasha's lips curved into a thin smile. And yet, you still don't know what it's truly capable of. Before Maxwell could respond, the heavy thud of boots echoed faintly through the tunnel behind them. Tariro turned sharply, her weapon half drawn. They're coming. Nyasha stepped aside, motioning them into the brightly lit chamber beyond. Inside, a wall-sized display pulsed with streams of encrypted data. Engineers in plain clothes moved with silent urgency, manipulating holographic projections of the coin's architecture. Kuda's eyes widened. How do you have all this? Nyasha didn't look away from Maxwell. Because I never stopped building. And now, the people upstairs? They are not your only problem. There's a network, global, invisible, that's been preparing for this day. They don't just want your coin. They want control of the entire system. A distant metallic clang echoed through the tunnel, closer now. Maxwell took a step forward. Then we stopped them. Together. Nyasha studied him for a long moment, then slowly extended her hand. If we do this, Maxwell, there's no turning back. No borders. No governments. Just us, and the ones willing to burn the old world down. The pounding of boots was getting louder, the sound of weapons being loaded following close behind. Maxwell looked at her hand. For the first time since the unveiling, he realized the next choice wouldn't just decide the fate of his invention, it would decide the fate of the world's future economy.